Welcome to Chapter 6 of FEDA, the Emblem of Justice. To think, in just a couple hours of real time, I'll be halfway through the game! You know, I've been playing without Emulator Turbo this whole time, and it's starting to wear on me, so I hope you can forgive me for employing Turbo just a little bit. I'll edit it out. Anyways, things are looking up for the Liberation Army now that they've set up a council and are recruiting more every day, but who knows what the next move of the Balformian Empire will be? And are all the Balformians happy with this situation, or will they decide to side with the more likely victor of this war? We'll see about that soon, but our orders here and now are to free the Pope, leader of the church in the region of Kuhl. Wait, there's a Pope? And a church? How? What gods does anyone worship on this continent? There's barely been any mention of religion or gods in this game so far, but whatever, the real purpose of the mission is a bluff of sorts. We don't actually know if the Pope is going to be on our side, so this rescue attempt is a trick to make Balformia think that he is, or at least control them, I guess. What a weird tactic, but I'm a fan of unconventional strategies, so this should turn out to be very fun. Next, we cut to a scene with the villains. Normally I don't show these because it's usually just evil gloating, but the context is important this time around. We see the Balformian general, Bart, giving a speech. Bart is one of Balformia's 4 Commodores, Commodore being a rank in most naval forces, though I'd imagine Bart enjoys playing on his Commodore 64 just as well. So yeah, the 4 Commodores. We officially have an Elite 4 type group. Bart's speech is mostly just evil gloating until his son, Richard, shows up and calls out the old man on Balformia's actions, which enrages Bart to the point that he orders the imprisonment and execution of his own son for speaking out against the Empire. Oh, come on already. We're already aware Balformia is evil. Not one of their generals has done anything good so far. Any more evil from them is going to look completely satirical now. Cut to Brian and McDougal arriving at a town. Our first stop is the shop so we can pick up some goods, and we hear that bandits besiege this town regularly, so... Are you kidding me? We're going with the bandit excuse. This isn't even a Fire Emblem game, and we're using the most tiresome... Oh well. Some stronger items are available at the store, including the Trident, the strongest lance up to this point. It's even a ranged weapon, so you can sell all your other lances and use this exclusively. There's a stronger sword that not everyone can use, and an upgrade to Dora's crossbow that is available as well. Upgrade yourself as necessary, then make a stop at the mayor's house to get your new objective to squash the local bandits and head out to fight them. Brian's feeling pretty merciful, so he decides to just walk right into their cave and hold them off so he can see how badly they want to die. Easiest battle in the history of forever. Just stick Brian on the choke point and wait them out until 2 turns later. Then it ends, and in my case I got my FEDA rank back. I wonder if it's possible to destroy all the enemies in 2 turns though. Probably is, and the reason I wonder this is because when the timer runs out, the bandit leader, Lance, arrives, and yes, that is in fact his name. Elite 4, Lance. Yeah, just gotta love the Pokemon references. Lance is a centaur who was supposedly a knight under Sir Chris. Yes, that Chris. The centaur that joined us near the start of the game. Lance recognizes him, but it seems Chris doesn't remember Lance at all. I was hoping this would kickstart a subplot of some kind, but Lance only joins the party on Chaos playthroughs. So wait, you're supposed to be a Knight of Justice and stuff, but you're a Chaos character? So what's the story with Chris? Was he a bandit too? Is Lance misguided? It feels like an entire story is missing from the game here. Anyways, Lance is yet another centaur character, and even though his animations show him with axes, his equipable weapon is the lance just like any other centaur. This is confusing, but whatever. He's not joining me. That's the end of this filler subplot. Now let's get on with the actual plot. Now we can cross the mountain and head south into territory with enemies in it. Oh boy, it's battle time. Time to eliminate all the enemies again as usual, though you ought to be careful. This fight introduces a new enemy type, a centaur with an actual combat art. No joke. And for some reason, this enemy type tends to ignore Brian and McDougal and aim for other units instead if they get the chance, so these guys should be your main target in any fight with them. Even Brian takes quite a bit of damage from these guys. Anyways, that aside, this enemy group is more of the usual in a big open map with some cliffs the flyers can use, I guess. I've got a big surprise for you now, though. What comes after one group of enemies? Another group of enemies, you guessed right! We get to kill them all once again, and this map, well, it's a little better than the previous one. There's a giant bottleneck in the center you can make use of. There are some flying enemies, some enemies that look like football players, and yeah, I'm out of things to say by this point. There's also more of the very slow-moving gun turrets that take forever to get to. This is kind of an okay map, but it's more of the game being way too lengthy for my taste. Well, at least the music for this map was good. In the next part of the map, we come across an enemy soldier. A single enemy soldier that just happened to be walking by. How convenient. We interrogate the soldier and hear from him that Richard is in the next town over and is about to be executed for speaking out against Empire policy, which our party finds unbelievable and ridiculous. Kome suspects something more strange than this is going on beneath the surface, so the party is to intervene and save Richard. Ironically, the village in question is the wrecked village of Bad, where Brian was arrested for striking a superior officer way back at the beginning of the game. Must bring back some bad memories, eh, Brian? Oh, come on, McDougal, at least let me make a crappy pun once in a while. Did he say that in the Japanese script? Seems like it only worked in English, but then the translator might have substituted one pun for another, so who knows. The village is crawling with enemies, making me wonder how they expect a public execution to have any impact if they stage it at a wrecked village with nobody in it besides themselves. Luckily, the mission objective is to kill all but 3 of the enemies, rather than all of them. You have to kill only the trooper enemies, the centaurs that is. I mean, geez, I may as well just get rid of all of them at this rate. At least the ones you must spare are the toughest ones. 2 of them are flyers, and another one is a mage with some potent Gaia magic. So whatever you do, don't bunch up your units or they'll all get slammed with area of effect damage. So we save Richard, who introduces himself and seems to suggest that there's more going on with his father than meets the eye, but he's not willing to talk just yet. However, if you have a law emblem, he's willing to join the party, so say hello to our newest team member. Richard and his father are both dragon newts, which I guess is a fancy word for a walking salamander. Richard uses swords and has a combat art where he breathes fire. As fancy as that is, I don't think he'll be in the party for very long. If I want elemental damage, plenty of other party members up to this point can serve that purpose and then some. I do wonder what Richard would have done if this were a Chaos playthrough. Maybe just join some other guerrilla unit, or gets a pencil-pushing job with Kome or something. That accomplished, we can now head to the town of Banbuda, where it turns out Bart is waiting for us. Except he's not interested in the fight, he just makes an evil speech and then leaves. Apparently this grandstanding by Bart was done to get the civilians on his side, because killing us now would mean just 10 dead soldiers, but by ignoring us, he made us look completely meaningless in the eyes of anyone who knows the Empire's strength. I guess. That's Brian's explanation, not mine. I don't really know if that's how it realistically works, but whatever. Right, so we can now wander the town. I was hoping to get some equipment, but apparently the shopkeeper isn't selling. He also has a unique portrait for some reason. I wonder if this means something, Anyways, the mayor has the key to the gate out of town, and he hands it over for free, and we can head further into enemy territory. Unfortunately, the enemy has erected a massive gate to block us from going much further, and this one doesn't look destructible. Fortunately, the shopkeeper from earlier, named Stinger, shows up with a giant bazooka and blows the door down in an instant. Stinger is for some reason called Raven on the fan site I get my info from, but whatever. Stinger is actually our next party member, though since a fight starts right after the gate comes down, I can't show him off just yet. It's fight time, and I swear, if it's another crappy bridge battle that takes forever... Oh, come on! A giant staircase? That's cheating! And the goal is to take all my units to the top of the stairs without killing everything. Fantastic. Well, you can imagine how this one went down. If my goal is to not kill everything, how about killing all but one of the enemies? At some point I'm going to have to stop trying to be merciful and just start taking the hits to my rank, because these maps are getting atrocious. Oh well, it can't get much worse than that. At least there wasn't a bridge battle. Ah! There was one of these after all. Luckily, I can't stick in Final Fantasy music while the game plays at 5 times the speed, because I put Stinger back in the party to show him off. Stinger is a ranged attacker. His basic attack has a range of 3, and his combat art is a beauty by itself. It's a massive range and area of effect that lets it splash a grand total of 25 enemies at once. More enemies than are allowed to be on the map at once, in fact. This currently isn't strong enough to one-shot anyone, but you can follow it up with Cannoli's ice magic to wipe out many enemies at once if they bunch up to allow it. Stinger seems a bit advanced to actually use, but I'll do my best to put him to work. Also worth noting is that there is a beta build of this game I've only seen videos of on YouTube. In this beta, Stinger uses a pistol for his regular attacks, but in the final version he fires his bazooka just like the combat art. Thought that might be an interesting little tidbit. Once we're inside, the final battle of Chapter 6 starts. It's an indoor battle and the objective is to get everyone in front of the stairs in the center of the map. We have to go through all these enemies without killing them all. Well, you can imagine what my grand strategy is this time. Like with the staircase battle, I just killed all but one of the enemies and then rushed everyone to the stairs. You can see why I'm starting to get sick of this map objective. It's great to encourage lower kill counts from players as a challenge, but maps and objectives like this and the staircase battle are just not the place for it. You know, if there was some kind of movement spell, like a way to teleport to the stairs and avoid the enemy entirely, that would be a great solution here, but there's nothing like that. This theme of low kill counts is actually a solid idea for the Fire Emblem games, considering how much everyone likes warp skipping. It would please them at least. We meet up with the Pope, who is a Gulnerheim, a weird-looking creature with one eye. Apparently this is not our first meeting. He was speaking to us telepathically back at the Desert Temple, I guess. This cutscene is just weird. Pope Omat reveals that he is the uncle of Cobalt, the Empire General operating in the Scudelia Peninsula. Omat's been on our side the entire time and wants to stop Cobalt from unleashing destruction on the peninsula using the Executor. He explains that someone used a super weapon called the Four Sages, or rather one of its four components, to obliterate the Phantom Zone, destroying the human-centered superpower there and presumably creating the Gulnerheim race through a mutation of some kind. However, we're not sure when the mutation occurred. As for the super weapon itself, there is supposedly a prophecy regarding who is allowed to use it involving chosen convicts. Long story short, the true wielder of the Executor will be someone convicted, jailed even, and at the start of the game, Brian was jailed, but McDougal broke him out. You see where that's going? Great. Just when I thought we were avoiding the Chosen One as a plot point. How Cobalt factors into this is so far unknown, and we also don't know what the other three of the Four Sages are at this point. Seeing as we're dealing with sets of fours, however, we're probably going to have to deal with the four Commodores at some point. I mean, we knew that anyways. Why set up the Elite Four of this game and not have us fight them all at one point or another? McDougal's not really following all of this and really hates the concept of being the Chosen One. My sentiments exactly. But Chosen One or not, we probably wouldn't put down our sword at this point anyways because, as has been reiterated at the end of basically every chapter, we're in too deep. We've been fighting this battle for so long that not finishing what we've started means that we'll be hunted by everyone wanting to make an ally out of us, or failing that, remove us as a potential enemy. Not only that, letting the people on the peninsula suffer under the Empire would weigh on our conscience. We have the potential to do something, therefore we must. With the mystery of the Four Sages and Cobalt's objective in our minds, we conclude Chapter 6, hoping that the gameplay doesn't slow us down any longer as the plot does its best to hold our interest.